Hey fam, hope everyone's well. Uh, I'm always talking about the Ten Commandments, right? And why we should keep them and everything else surrounding them. Um, so I thought, why don't we just go through the Ten Commandments? I think there's a lot to be learned about the Ten Commandments. I've learned a lot going over them and going word for word and looking up words. Um, there's a lot to learn. Um, let's go to Exodus 20. Exodus 20, verse 1. And who? Elohim. Um, I think of this as the idea, and I think in the English a lot, like mighty one. Um, that's really probably the best word for it, or like sovereign, the mighty one, the sovereign, spake. And I believe it's aloha. Aloha is probably the best way of saying this word. H430. Um, it's an aleph in the Hebrew. Um, go down here. Brown Driver Briggs is one of my favorites. Um, aleph, lamed. Then we got a hey. Then we have a yod. Then we have a mem. And so I really believe that this is pronounced like an A, not an E. Um, the vowel pointing wasn't done till 1,000 years after the Messiah. So I don't think the way that they tell you to pronounce it these days, after the vowel pointing, after the marking, the vowel points are the little marks over the letters. Um, you can't always go by that. But enough about that. He spoke all these words, saying, I am, and what he say? H3068. We know it's not a J. We got, J was created in the 1600s, so it's a Y. It's Yod Hey, a Wah Hey. Makes a Ya sound, Ya, U, Ah. There are no O's in ancient Hebrew. There are no V's in ancient Hebrew. And it's not a Ye, not Yahweh. It's Ya, U, Ah. Ah. The Hey makes an Ah sound. So we know that it has the name here in the Hebrew scripture, and they take that out and they replace it with Lord, and say, well, it's a generic term, Lord, but his real name is there. And so wherever his real name is, I don't think it should be taken out or removed or replaced with another word, and it doesn't translate, Yod Hey, Wah Hey, it doesn't translate to Lord in English. So Yahuwah, your mighty one, your sovereign, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other mighty ones before me. So we see here he's citing who he is. I'm Yahuwah. I'm the one who brought you out of Egypt. I brought you out of bondage. He goes in, thou shalt have no other mighty ones before me. Let's look up before what we got here. The first part's a paleo, but Brown's Driver Briggs. Al, upon, on the ground of, according to, on account of, on behalf of, concerning, beside him, addition to him, together with, beyond, above him, over him, by him, on to, towards, or against. Okay. So we're not to have any other. Verse 4, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. What's a graven image? Chisel, stone formed to carve a statue, an image that's carved. When I think of this, like even a cross, even these images, steeples are, we're not to erect a pillar in our land, and he said that he would destroy any land with pillars, but we have pillars on top of church buildings, we have crosses, wood, it says graven image, anything cut out or made into an image in a likeness of anything that is heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. So, and it's graven image, can be made out of wood, metal, or stone. If you look up this word pestle, it tells you that. Out of wood, out of stone, out of metal, that's carved or formed, fashioned to be in the image of something. So first, I'm really leaning to the fact that I think that this means we're not supposed to have graven images. You look at this word make, H62:13. It means to work, the making, the doing of anything. So you do it and you make it, it's done. The application of a work or an action, a labor, to fashion, to accomplish, to make a work, produce it. It's the act of making it. So he's telling them not even to make it unto any graven image or any likeness of anything in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, that is in the water under the earth. So first off, I think he's telling them not to make it. Don't make it at all. Then the next command is, thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I am who? He's Yahuwah. I am Yahuwah, thy sovereign, your mighty one. And I'm a jealous Aloha, or Elohim, visiting the iniquity of thy fathers upon the children, unto the third and the fourth generation of them that hate him. Goes on, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thousands of them. I believe it's unto thousands of generations. Like it was passed on to David. David's, because he loved David, it was passed on through the line of David, the blessings. And that the Messiah came from the line of David. Thou shalt not take the name of who? The name of H3068, the name of Yahuwah, Yod He Wahe, thy Aloha, in vain. What's to take it in vain? We say this all the time, and when I was little, I thought, if you say, oh my God, that was taking the name in vain, and no one even knew the name, the name's hidden under the word Lord here, H3068. So he's saying, thou shalt not take the name of Yahuwah, the name of Yahuwah, thy Aloha, your mighty one. You shall not take the name of Yahuwah, your mighty one, in vain. Okay, what's vain mean? Let's go to H77:23. Desolate. That's the first that comes up in the Paleo Hebrew. Let's see, shav. This word shav, emptiness, vanity, falsehood, emptiness, nothing, vanity, emptiness of speech. Let's look this up, because desolate was one of the first things that came up, and I got that again when I was looking for this Hebrew word and Googled it. Desolate. Okay. And what's desolate here? Okay. Desolate. Deserted of people and in a state of bleak and dismal emptiness. Okay, so if we make it empty, if we make it bare, if we deserted, what's deserted? Empty of people. Deserted means there's no one there. And you know what that makes me think of? It makes me think of, it makes me think of the way it's been replaced. It's been deserted. They don't use it anymore. It's been made empty. It's been deserted. So when we take that and we replace it with Lord, Lord, we no longer use his name ever. And every time that it was there, we replace it or cover it up with another name. And it's bad enough that we do that, but then the word Lord in Hebrew is the word Baal, is actually what the Hebrew word, So not only do we, that's how we take it in vain, by making it empty. We don't use it. So when it should be used, we replace it. We desert it. For Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless. He will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. That desolation, that makes it empty, waste, desolate, destruction, that destroys the name, that removes the name. Empty in the sense of destroyed, empty words or actions. Emptiness, nothingness. I would say that you make it nothing when you remove it and you don't use it, and no one even knows it today. No one knows it or even knows why it's important at all. It's been removed. Exodus 20 verse 8. Remember the Shabbat, the Sabbath. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Okay, what does this mean? Okay, we click on the word Shabbat, Hebrew 76:76. Shen Bet Tav, the ceasing of work or activity in order to rest, sitting to rest, to cease from activity, rest, celebration, a stopping of activity, often used for the seventh day or a special feast day, set aside resting. Okay, Brown Striver, Briggs, Sabbath, Day of Atonement, Sabbath year, week, produce in a year. So, Sabbath day is a day of rest. It's the seventh day. And to keep it what? To keep it holy. Let's look up H6942, the word that we got here for holy. Set apart from the rest, a special function, separating, to set someone or something apart for a special purpose. Kadash is the word. We have a Kaf, a Dalet, and a Shin. To consecrate, sanctify, prepare, dedicate, be hallowed, be holy, be sanctified, be separate. to be set apart, be consecrated, to be hallowed, consecrated, tabooed, to show oneself sacred or majestic, to be honored, be treated as sacred, to be set apart, to observe, to honor, to regard, to keep oneself apart, to be observed as set apart. Okay, let's look up. I looked up an ancient Hebrew source. Okay, Kadash, ancient Hebrew meaning. I hope it shows up correct for you guys as well. What does it look like to be holy? For it is written, be holy, because I am holy. Where is written, for I am Yahuwah, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt to be your mighty one. You shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. That's Leviticus 11:45. Every time we read this phrase, it is written. The writers of the New Testament are referring to this spiritual creator's written instructions, the Torah. It also makes it possible to trace the Greek word for holy, hagios, to the meaning of its original Hebrew word, kodash. Kadosh, often translated as holy, it also has a deeper understanding to be separate and set aside for Yahuwah, not like the world or things that are of this world. For you are a people set apart as holy for Yahuwah, your Elohim. Yahuwah, your Elohim, has chosen you out of all the peoples on the face of the earth to be his own unique treasure. That's Deuteronomy 7:6. All right, Kadosh is translated into English as holy, sacred, consecrated, sanctified, but these are all abstract concepts. We can actually see what being holy does by studying its three-letter Hebrew root. The kaf, it's the back of the head, behind, the last, the least, to follow, the horizon, circling sun, and time. The dalet is the Hebrew letter D. The door, gate, entrance, access, the pathway, the gate, suspend or hang to move back and forth. And then we got the shin, teeth, sharp, press, crush, eat, destroy, remove, consume, and fire. So when we put this together, we have following the door of the teeth. Those who follow the door of the teeth become what? Holy or set apart, because they do what is right. The righteous will dwell with the consuming fire. Yahuwah. Deuteronomy 4:24, Isaiah 33:14, 15, Hebrews 12:29. The kaf means to follow. When it is combined with the dalet and the shin, it forms the word dosh, to be threshed. A word picture of the dalet, the door, attached by the vav to the shin, the teeth. This is what it means to thresh, or to separate grain, as the wheat is separated from the chaff by threshing. We are instructed to be separated from the world by following the threshing. The parable of Yahusha, his original Hebrew name, Yahusha, reveals spiritual realities by describing them in physical terms. His winnowing fork is in his hand to clear the threshing floor and to gather his wheat into the barn, but he will burn up the chaff with unquenchable fire. That's Matthew 3:12. Our spiritual Creator's instructions are unchanging and everlasting and holy or set apart. They never became old, changed, replaced, or abolished. Mankind is still expected to make a distinction between the holy and the unholy, the set apart and the unset apart. And so, as to make a distinction between the holy, the set apart, Kodesh, and the unholy, the call, and between the unclean, tame, and the clean, tahor. I'm not going to read the rest of that right now, but so we are to remember the Shabbat day and to keep it set apart. In 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. So he's explaining here further that it means to rest. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, because the seventh day is a day of rest. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of who? Of Yahuwah, your mighty one. Thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor your daughter, your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor the cattle, or the stranger that is within your gates. So within your property. 20 verse 11, for 6 days Yahuwah made the heaven and the earth, and so he takes it back to the beginning in Genesis. 6 days Yahuwah made the heaven and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Wherefore Yahuwah blessed the seventh day and hallowed it, set it apart. Honor your father and your mother, that the days may be long upon the land, which Yahuwah, your mighty one, gives thee. Let's just look up honor for... Go to Brown's Driver Briggs. To be heavy, be weighty, be grievous, be hard, be rich, be honorable, be glorious, be burdensome, be honored. To be heavy, be insensible, be dull, to be honored, to be made heavy, be honored, enjoy honor, be made abundant, to get oneself glory or honor and gain and glory, to make heavy, make dull, make insensible, to make honorable, honor, or glorify. Let's go on here. Thou shalt not kill. Murder, unjustifiable killing or slaughter. A deadly wound. To murder, to slay, to kill. Thou shalt not... Babe, hold on. I'm recording something. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Okay, I think we know what that means. I think we know what kill. Thou shalt not steal. To steal, to carry away, to be stolen. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. False, untrue, lie, deception, disappointment, or falsehood. So we're not to bear false witness against who? Against our neighbor. 20 verse 17, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. What's covet? To desire, to covet, to take pleasure in, to delight, to desire, to try to have something that's not yours or doesn't belong to you. You shall not covet thy neighbor's house. Shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is your neighbor's. All right, so this was just a brief overview, and there might be some things that might be new to you looking at these commandments, because this isn't the way we were traditionally taught them. And I could probably spend a lot more time going into some of them in a lot greater detail, and maybe we will sometime. But I just wanted to briefly go over them. The rich young ruler. I believe that. I always think of that when I think of the Ten Commandments, because what must we do to inherit eternal life was the question. And he goes into them, and he starts going into all the ones that pertain to how to love his neighbor. And he said, I've done all that since my youth. He didn't kill, he didn't commit adultery, he didn't steal, didn't bear false witness, didn't covet his neighbor's stuff, honored his mother and father. But I believe that what he was struggling with was the fact that, if he loved Yahuwah with all his heart and with all his mind and with all his strength, then he would have sold what he had and he would have followed after Yahusha. And so he struggled with loving Yah with everything that he had. And he couldn't leave his possessions. So all the Ten Commandments can be split in two, and that's what Yahusha did. He split them in two by saying to love Yah, to love your mighty one with everything that you have, and then to love your neighbor as yourself. So these commandments, it's about how do you love Yahuwah, and then how do you love your neighbor. And in essence, the judgments and the statutes, which are, make up the Torah, and that's the same thing. They're how to love Yahuwah and then how to love your neighbor. The judgments are, what's right to do. The statutes are his feasts and, the things on how to love him with your whole heart. His feast days and, what's actually food and what's not food. It's part of keeping our temple clean and set apart for his use. All right, well, I'm going to jump off here. I love you guys, and I hope everyone learned something today. Great being with you all. Love you. Bye.